Hi, Melanie.
Hello, nice to see you again.
That was a really inspiring event.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you for joining us.
It was, for everyone else to know, it was the Girls Inc. annual celebration of the young women who got the top scholarships. And it was, we filled the ballroom at the Hilton Doubletree. And there's a Girls Inc. chorus of these adorable little children. And the young women, each of them spoke, and it was very moving. At first, some of them they almost couldn't do it because they were crying because it was so they were so moved. But the outgoing director, who seems came, hugged them and wiped their tears away, and the whole audience said, "You can do it," and they did.
Nice.
And they talked about the all three of them want to be mechanical engineers.
Well, one was a civil engineer,
Oh, okay, but engineers.
engineers, yes.
And they've all gotten into good colleges, and they're more than on their way.
Mhm.
And Melanie is on the board, and she was the head of the search committee for their new director, and who seems terrific.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, you should have been very proud. Wow.
I was very proud, very moved,
Yeah.
and it's lovely to see one of our neighboring towns, coming together to impact the next generation.
Very impressive. Got to write a bigger check now. I'll just do it online.
uh, I guess I'm no longer muted. I've never met you, Miss Drayton. I've heard wonderful things about you. Um,
Thank you.
but I've been thinking uh, that Lynn is really the future of this country. Uh, this country for too many years now has been committing social suicide by destroying the resources that it could have and turning some of those resources, unfortunately, into liabilities. I'm talking about from school to jail, the school to jail pipeline that this country seems to be so good at.
Yeah.
But what a place Lynn would be, huh? If the school system were successful and the people had avenues, there's no stopping people who see opportunity ahead of them.
Well, these young women, one went to Lynn Classical,
Yeah.
and they were all migrant, born two born in Nigeria, one born in, I think,
Uh,
the Dominican Republic. Um, Parents all there. I mean, they were just showering their parents. It was so cool. We all applauded their parents. One went to classical, one went to English, and one went to the charter school.
good.
So yeah, really inspiring.
Excellent.
And I think Lynn's superintendent is getting new superintendent. Lynn's former superintendent is now the Secretary of Education for the state.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know anything
Tutwiler.
about that.
He's awesome. Absolutely
Good.
awesome.
All right.
And he became the Secretary of Education for the state. Healy was smart, spotted him. Okay, Kim Driscoll may have known him from North Shore stuff. He's superb.
All right, so everyone, it is 7:35, and I am trying to figure out who exactly we have. The ones that have names up are Deborah, Melanie, Peter, Barbara, and myself. Are there any other committee members who are just here with a phone number that I do not recognize?
Yes, Bob. Dan McMacken here on whatever I'm coming up as.
I don't know. What are you coming up as?
He comes up as 0149. He's a
149.
phone, he's a telephone, which
Okay.
nobody has anymore. I don't know what icon they think that is.
Okay. So that is a quorum. So the meeting is in order at whatever, 7:36. And a couple of things as we start. I'm noting that there's a bunch of phones out there or participants out there that I do not recognize. You are all welcome. I just want to remind people that there's a public forum at the end. And during the meeting, it's really intended to be a meeting of the Finance Committee. We can we can and will ask for participation from folks as we want to consult them, but it's not an open discussion for anyone who wants to jump in. That's the purpose of the public forum at the end. So that's number one. Number two is I've been reflecting on Tuesday evening's meeting, and I guess what I want to say is, this is the way it's supposed to work. We discuss, we debate. It can get heated at times, but at the end, we all walk away respecting each other. We all walk away knowing that the product that we produced is better for it. And I hope we all walk away knowing that the town is better off for the process. The last thing is Tim Bell is not with us tonight. He had some health issues. He had to have his appendix removed very suddenly.
Ouch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Ouch.
Oh, that was Lynn saying ouch sympathetically. Sorry.
Oh, that's fine.
I'll mute myself.
No, that's fine. That was a very appropriate
I've used that
reaction.
time.
I'm sorry. Who was that?
I've used that excuse 3 times myself.
Oh, you never seem to run out of them, do you? Sorry, that I meant appendixes, not excuses, Dan. At any rate, so Tim is not with us tonight. He has said he wants to continue to write the articles that he has been assigned, but they will be a little bit late. So thoughts and prayers to Tim, and that's that. Okay, so tonight, 3 topics to start. One is assessors. Tony, did you make any progress with the assessors?
No, we didn't. We haven't had a chance to meet with them. We haven't gotten any additional information. I would say that we looked at the information. I'm sorry, my daughter's right next to me here. We looked at the information that she sent us and tried to do as much of an analysis as we could with the limited information that we had. At this point, I think we're comfortable with the number we have in our budget, unless some, very specific contracts or quotes are presented that require an additional $20,000. Hold on.
So I guess the short answer is there's nothing we can do as regards the assessors tonight. Okay, so the next one is there are a couple of open items regarding the CPC. And Lynn, I am looking for what you sent this afternoon. You did send it to me. I know you sent it to me.
I sent it actually this morning to
Okay,
everybody because at that point, Bob, I had everybody's email address thanks to an email that Dan had sent me. So I hope you all have had a chance. You all have it to look at, if not read beforehand.
Yes.
At 9:04 a.m. Yeah, no doubt.
Mhm.
All right, so I'm going to pull this up, I hope, and then share the screen. So the not I'm doing this meeting from a hotel on a hotel Wi-Fi. So
Nice.
Sorry about that.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's no telling what might happen here. Okay, so we have what, two? We have the Flash Road Master Plan article.
Yep.
Heritage
I
Trail.
did, yeah,
you don't
just
know.
to
We voted the Flash
Yeah, yeah.
Road. And I already wrote
Yeah.
you my,
Yes, I'm sorry.
I sent it to you.
Yeah. So let's do that. Let me
So
do this.
it's the housing plan
The
and
housing.
Bailey's Hill.
Correct.
Exactly.
And housing, yeah, Bailey's Hill is the other one.
Yep. Okay. I'm trying to share my screen here.
I can do that if you want. I'm sure a lot of other people could as well.
Here we go. There we go. Okay, so share screen. I only have one screen to share. Boom. There.
It's coming up.
Look at that.
Oh, technology is wonderful.
Wonder of wonders. Okay.
Okay. So Lynn, did you change all of these or only the two?
let me just relate what I did change. Based on the suggestion from Deborah Warren on this one, I broke up a paragraph. So instead of a long paragraph, there were two shorter paragraphs. But otherwise, there's been no change to the wording. It was just a layout issue.
Okay. Next. Oops.
No change to what you had seen on Tuesday for the Heritage Trail. No change here as well.
Okay. So here we go.
Oh, here we go into some exciting changes. So, Bob, as you were just saying,
Yeah, so-
sometimes we make sausage and, we're all making it together.
Yeah,
so
hey, Lynn, before you start, I think what the thrust of what the Finance Committee was saying is it lacked specificity, especially as regards one location and two deliverables. Right? And with that
And so-
introduction, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So yes, we had actually made the one location more specific, even though it was in the draft you saw on Tuesday, but now it is clearly stated in the appropriation line. And then and I want to say this would be Michelle Capano, and I don't know if she's able to be with us tonight. I think she was feeling unwell, but Tony, Michelle, and I then took comments, which we listened to carefully, and did our best to incorporate those comments, which included the specific location, the town-owned property on Greystone Road, as well as what the deliverables would be. So I don't want to actually read it all to you, but I'm happy to.
I've read it. I read it
Thank
this
you.
morning. So, yeah.
Yes. So I'm hoping that if you've had a chance to read it, and I hear that from you, Peter, I heard from Dan as well, perhaps we can just take a pause and I can hear your comments and questions and attempt to address them.
Lynn, this is Melanie. I really appreciate the rewording of the article. I think it's much clearer and easier to understand and less likely to misunderstand what this particular article is about. So thank you for that improvement.
Thanks, Melanie. You know, what we were really trying to do is to focus this as clearly as possible on the purpose, which is to actually look closely at Greystone Road for its capability, for the number of units, you know, the layouts, the sort of site considerations, the traffic, the impact on neighbors, impact on the town, and so on. So there's a lot here, I realize, but I'm happy to hear more questions. Bob, by the way, you gave us a very specific list of questions, and we may not have addressed every one, but we tried to do our best.
Okay, thank you.
The reason that there's such a quantum leap in clarity is that we decided to just focus on Greystone Road.
Also, I don't know if you read, but Tony sent us, and I appreciate that, Tony. That was a lot of work. Tony sent us just recently some answers to Bob's specific questions, and that was very helpful to see. Thank you, Tony.
Well, I read this as well. This is much improved. I read it at 9:05, I think. Came in at 9:04. Lynn, it's a knit. Can you see my cursor?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that should be development.
Yes, I see that. Thank you.
Like,
Oh, you got to bring it back now and start all over again.
Thanks,
Sorry.
Peter. You know, we all have hobbies.
Well,
I think this is all our collective hobby.
I actually have an ex-school teacher who works, who reports to me, and I can tell you that every time an email goes out, it comes back with like red pen on it. So
yeah.
Every time I look at this, I see something myself. So thank you. I certainly invite comments and editorial help.
We have to eliminate all the passive voice from this as well. If Gabby's on, she will understand that. All right. Is any further comments from the committee?
no.
Then I think a motion is in order here.
I'm going to accept this as written for the TDC article.
I'll second that.
Affordable housing.
So Dan, can you phrase the motion in the terms of whether we're going to recommend it, not recommend it, or rather than use the word accept?
Roger, I move we recommend.
And I'll second that.
You know what, before we go on, I did not ask for a scribe.
I was just thinking the same thing.
Volunteered last meeting.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you.
I think it's my turn.
Right. So there's a motion to recommend, which has been seconded. Roll call vote. Deborah,
Aye.
Melanie,
Aye.
here,
Aye.
Barbara,
Aye.
Dan.
Aye.
I vote aye as well, so that is a unanimous vote in favor. Are there any other committee members that have joined late that I didn't write down on my cheat sheet here? No? All right. So unanimous vote in favor. And then there was one more,
Bailey's
The
Hill.
Bailey's
Billy
Hill.
Sill.
which is coming up. Here we go.
Yeah.
And this.
And I
in
joined
this-
late, so I wasn't even aware of what the discussion was on the change on this. So I don't know if you can give me a quick.
So Peter, it's actually easy. I don't think we discussed this at all.
Oh, okay.
We did not discuss this. This is our first.
Oh, okay. All right, great. I knew I was late to the last meeting. I didn't want to miss out on something. Okay.
So
All right.
I think we turn the floor to Lynn
Thanks, Bob. So this is an article to appropriate $78,515 from fiscal year 2025 community preservation estimated revenues for the continuing reclamation of the Bailey's Hill complex, focusing on the Fort Ruckman portion of that property, which is the easterly, well, the property basically is roughly divided into what might be called the Fort Ruckman portion, which is where a very large battery is, as well as the south portion of Bailey's Hill, which is just beyond the gazebo area. Maybe that's the best way of putting it. So this will continue the reclamation work that has been started at the Fort Ruckman area on the northerly end of that area, which we funded with a community preservation grant 3 years ago. The work has been recently is underway, about completed in terms of removing invasives, invasives, and the amount of debris that had been deposited there just below one of the gun ports. There's been some regrading, and there's been some planting work. Also a sign indicating what was happening, because people naturally are very curious once they walk and enjoy that portion, that the Bailey's Hill Reserve. In addition, on the south slope, there's also been the beginning of removal of invasives. And this has largely been, both of these projects have had very active involvement with the Department of Public Works, working closely with the Open Space and Recreation Committee, which are, basically the applicants for this article. This would continue the work on the Fort Ruckman portion. It is a substantial investment. It has $3,000 being donated from SWIM toward this effort. It basically will actually solidify a planning document for about about $5,689, which will solidify what's called the land management plan. And then the balance of this, some $75,825, is going actually into the removal of invasive aging trees and shrubs and installing diverse and sustainable native trees and shrubs suitable for the coastal environment. There'll be some signage explaining the project. There's close involvement with the Department of Public Works, as well as an ecological management firm called Partier, which has consulted with the Open Space and Recreation Committee on this project. So it is a thoughtfully, it was an excellent application. There's been a lot of input from Trish Aldrich and her group, and we feel strongly that this is worthy of funding and worthy of the town meeting approval, and we hope the FinCom endorsement.
Lynn, I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
The first one is to do with the planning. After this, why is my question is, why is the future restoration going to still call on the services of the, I guess it's Partier, right? After this year? Or does the 5,086.89, does that cover the next couple of years, this ongoing work with Partier?
So they lay out for $5,689. They lay out a 3-year plan.
Okay.
And in year one, we're investing $75,000 in the reclamation and planting work, because, and we've all talked about this, because plants grow and they reseed and so on. There will be continuing efforts to actually maintain and sustain this investment. And that is viewed as a potential of $40,000 in next year, that'd be fiscal year 2026 funding, and then 13,000 potentially in fiscal year 2027. We're not approving all of this now. We're simply saying, let's take the first step, but we're certainly anticipating that there'll be future requests for continuing efforts up here.
Right, but I guess what I'm getting at is in the future, we will probably be asking again for some funding for this parterre, in addition to the 5,000.
Parterre would actually be the company who's not only doing the land management plan, but will be partnering with the DPW on that extensive invasives removals. They have equipment that is designed for this. It's a forest mower. And so that's part of that. So Parterre will continue to be involved not only in the development of the plan, but the execution of the plan and then the subsequent implementation.
Okay, I did not realize that. And then the other question I have is, I am having a hard time envisioning how much the existing area will change. Are we thinking about something like on a spectrum between, say, just the Nahant thicket maybe, and you know, that wooded area at the top above Margarine Park, which is a little more open? Are we looking to change the density of the growth overall? I mean, what's it going to look like? Is it going to be is it going to be cleanup, or are we envisioning more it to be more open?
A good portion of it's been done that can be observed, and it's kind of it's not as clear cut as Margarine Park area. It preserves a more natural look, but it's a quantum leap, a huge improvement over the thicket of invasive species.
Yeah,
no,
we
can see what.
Dan, I really appreciate your saying this. I don't think that the plan does not contemplate making this into a park. It is contemplating reclaiming it as a natural area. I think it would be appropriate if the committee would entertain this to invite. I think I've got Nancy Cantalmo here, who I can't see her on the screen right now, but I believe she's here and she could actually also share some of her experience in the committee's goals for this project.
So this is Nancy Cantelmo, a member of the Open Space and Recreation Committee. We look at the work that's already been done as the model for what we want to do. However, we think that it will retain the wooded feeling. We have very few wooded areas in our town, and Bailey's Hill is probably the largest one, and so the feel would be the same, but it would not be so overgrown and jungly with strangling plants, but would replace them and restore a natural habitat. So it isn't good to compare it to the thicket, which is an area that, because of lack of granting of what's the word, that they weren't able to do the work there that they had intended to, because they didn't get the permits from the government. So that's not going to be looking like the thicket. The other thing that I wanted to say was our DPW doesn't have all of the machinery, but also the skills in working with these particular plants. So Parterre would be working with them to do most of the planting, but also as much as we don't want to, we do have to use some chemical applications, and our DPW doesn't have the ability to do that if it's needed.
Yeah, but Nancy, wasn't your experience with working with DPW and Parterre that the DPW was eager and capable, and increased their skills and increased their input, and took more initiative. And I think you told me that you fully expected that they would follow the same learning and behavior curve, so that we would be looking at a very clear justification for a smaller commitment to part care, even in the course of this prospective 3-year grant. And that after that, this is something that is an opportunity for people in Nahant, on a volunteer basis, swim and Friends of Bailey's Hill and whoever else, to pitch in here, learn wonderful skills that could be applied elsewhere, but also have a real positive impact on the way this highly used and potentially spectacular public open space could look.
You know, one of the things I didn't understand about parterres value added is that they do provide some of this machinery and equipment. What will happen in years 2 and 3? I mean, you won't cut back entirely from them because you will still need the equipment, right?
So I think the equipment would mostly be used in the first year, but the maintenance would then be a cooperative working between the DPW and parterre.
When you say maintenance, is that's years
2 and 3.
What about 4 through infinity?
So
Yeah.
that's what the management plan is going to tell us. And we believe that that the majority of it will be accomplished in years 2 and 3. And that it will require minimal maintenance beyond there, but that whatever that is can be done by the DPW with the help that they would like from us.
Okay, I have another question about, and maybe you answered it, Lynn. Tricia's mini spreadsheet did not show anything in the row about land management fees for the next 2 years. And did you say, Lynn, that that's included in the 5,000?
They're laying out the plan for the 3-year period. So
Okay.
I wonder if it would be helpful to put up the spreadsheet on the screen so you could see it. I think you might have seen it once before, but shall we just take a moment and put it on the screen?
Yeah, I may need some, I have it here. I just may need some direction about doing it. Let's see what happens. Here we go.
Because I have it available as well.
Oh, did
Oh,
anything
you've got
happen
it.
yet?
Perfect. Perfect. There
Oh,
it
good.
is.
Great.
So you can see in this breakdown that the $5,689 is year 1. You see the invasive plants management. You see cost of $47,000 for equipment to get in there and chunk this stuff out. $20,000 odd for plant restoration. A small amount for project management. Assigned to inform residents and so on. It does include a contingency plan. In year 2 and 3, you see that the invasive plant management costs go down respectively. We see a smaller amount for plant restoration, the planting portion and so on. So that's the plan that was put forward to us from Open Space and Recreation in the town of Nahant.
Does this include DPW time in those numbers, or is this all net new out-of-pocket cost?
This does not include DPW time.
I have a question following up on what Deborah's saying. Does that mean that the 20, the 11, actually the 47, the 24 and the 11, is that money going to parterre? What percentage of this is going to parterre?
So if you look at column E, Barbara, if you can just see that,
Column,
the E
yeah, I see that.
on the screen. So the subtotal of what is going to Parterre is, of those 3 years, is $82,725. Then there's $31,975 in plantings.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I didn't realize that was what the 82 was for.
I
Now
didn't
that's,
either. I didn't
that's,
Yeah.
that's, yeah, that wasn't designated parterre, but you're saying that's, the 82 is going to parterre.
That's my understanding.
Oh, okay, that, I didn't get that. That didn't come through to me, so that's very useful to know.
Yeah, I think you could consider invasive plant management, plants coming out, and native plant restoration, plants going in.
Okay, and both of those are, the execution is largely handled by Parterre.
Largely by Parterre, but there's been a close relationship, working relationship with DPW.
If some of that, if it follows the same pattern as other areas of Bailey's Hill that Parterre was part of, some of that 82 might actually be used by the town for equipment rental
Okay, good.
that our DPW will operate under, while working alongside Parterre.
Thanks,
That's what
Tony.
happened.
That's a good,
That's what happened on
Yeah.
the east slope.
yeah, that's a
And-
good clarification.
May I ask again, the 31,975, is that just for the actual plants, or does that include the putting them in?
Planting the plants.
So does it include the actual, the plants
Yeah.
themselves? But does it also,
Purchase and planting.
so that's purchase and planting, and is Parterre going to be doing that planting?
With DPW help.
So Parterre is actually going to be getting more than 82.
Well,
Well,
there's a cost of
it's-
buying the plants.
But also it's the putting them in part that I'm talking about.
I don't have a breakdown on that, but I think you're right. There'll be some amount that goes to Parterre, some amount to the, some of that is DPW.
I think like on the east slope, Barbara, I think when we started to get into it, Parterre was really saying, these are the plants that we want to purchase and put in this year. I think Zach ended up buying them, and then Parterre was there when we installed them, help making sure that we put them in the right place and installed them the right way and spaced them out correctly, that sort of thing. And then, and like I said, in the line before that, we used some of that funding for equipment rental.
Yeah, I
So I
understand.
think we did maybe save some, I think we had some cost savings by us purchasing the plants directly instead of through Parterre.
I understand that. So I'm just trying to figure out how much Parterre will be getting out of this in total. And it does sound as if it could likely be more than the 82. And then my next question, to follow up on what Deborah was saying, is in all the future years coming, because as Bob said, and as we know, plants grow back and they grow. So will Parterre continue to be the consultant in perpetuity?
I think the idea, and I'm just basing this off of what we've already done on other parts of Bailey's Hill. The initial part of it is really taking back, the area and getting it to a point where DPW is going to be able to maintain it with hand tools in the future. So it'll be somewhat restrictive to what the DPW can handle in future years on their own. I think the best way, I don't know if Nancy, if you guys got a quote from Parterre for this work, but that might, if you did, maybe you haven't yet, but that might answer the questions.
Do you mean going forward in the future?
No, even
For
for
year
how much
one.
The breakdown.
the breakdown, how much
The
are they going to
breakdown.
get of that potential? It's over $100,000 if you include some of the putting into the plants.
There,
Right.
I mean, of the grant that we had before and the work that's already been done, we didn't use more money than that. I mean, you might count the DPW's time, that would be more money, but Parterre didn't take away any more money. And as you said, Tony, we still have work that, some plantings that still can be done in that area. We're not finished.
Mhm. Yeah, I guess, do you have a quote from Parterre for year one?
I don't know.
We probably can get one, but
Yeah,
it'll, even the quote that we got for, Parterre for the east slope, I think we spent less on Parterre,
right,
is what you're saying, Nancy, because
right.
we ended up saving money by, running the equipment ourselves, renting it ourselves, buying the plants ourselves.
So if we don't have a quote, where did these numbers come from? What's the source of this?
This is Parterre's plan that was broken down by Trish into these various years and these various,
So we have some
Okay.
kind of a document, an estimate or something from Parterre, and this reflects our dissection of that.
right.
Okay.
And I don't think there's huge amounts of overage beyond what is here. Based on our working with them before, we spent less money.
Okay, so I actually have the Parterre quote. So if you want, I can put it up on the screen.
That would be helpful. Yes,
Wait.
thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
We will probably come back to this analysis.
If you're ready, I'm sorry, before you, I don't want to push this along.
Let's close down this conversation. So yes, please put the quote up.
Sorry.
Wow,
I need to go back to the full screen again.
what a neatly organized
take lessons, Bob.
hard drive.
Now I can't get the full screen up again. How,
You can email it to me, Lynn, and I can do it.
All right. So while you're working on that,
sure.
one of the line items on there said swim support or something like that.
That's right. Yeah.
What is that?
It means that SWIM, Safer Waters in Massachusetts, gives us $3,000 so that the money from CPC is less.
Okay. All right. So it's a reduction of the cost, not an, all right.
Yes,
Right. Right.
Okay.
It's a small matching grant from SWIM.
Well, while we're
Sorry.
trying to get this up, may I ask another question?
Sure.
And Nancy, I know you said not to compare it to the thicket. I do live across the street from the thicket, and so I have watched that project. And I understand the problem with the permits, so they had to stop. But one of my concerns, and Vi Paddock has been very helpful just recently in contacting Audubon to see whether or not they can do something about it, is that the initial cutting of the non-native shrubbery, trees, etc., left an extremely unsightly a couple of very unsightly areas, particularly the entrance, which is at the corner of Willow and Burbush. And there's an area in which there's just sort of dead branches and dead shrubs, and
Right.
it used to protect the entrance. And so there would be this shrubbery, and you would walk through, and then all of a sudden, magic, you were in the thicket. Now there's just a bunch of dead branches. And they didn't clean it up or anything. It's just sitting there. But even if they had cleaned it up, it's really quite unsightly if you've walked by there. So that was one of my concerns about how unsightly this might be for how many years. And the other concern is related to that. And again, Nancy, I understand the problem with permitting and all of that. I totally understand. And I understand that it's a different terrain. I understand that. But I think you can maybe see why I have some concerns. The other concern was that they did attempt to plant at least 3 in a back area, that they'd also cut down a lot of things, which is very unsightly. They attempted to plant 3, I'm assuming, native trees, and they put chicken wire around them. They don't appear to be doing very well. And they're obviously going to be requiring a lot of watering, even though it's a thicket. They got very dried out. And so that raises questions about, there's going to be a lot of care. I mean, we're all gardeners. I know we're all gardeners. I've visited your gardens, your beautiful gardens. I've seen your gorgeous garden, Nancy, and you've introduced me to your trees. And Paul, similarly. And as gardeners, we all know that it's an act of love. And I'm thrilled that Zach is so inspired to be working on this. This is a vision for him too. But we all know as gardeners that it's very time consuming. And it also is going to require watering up there. So that's going to be another cost. And have you thought about how much the water might cost the town? We have to ask these questions. I know we have to ask these questions.
So one of the things about the land management plan is that we can make sure we get what we want and don't get what we don't want. So we will get the land management plan, and then we can look at it and, and say, specify not to be leaving such open areas. That's what I think that's where some of your comments could be incorporated, and make sure that this doesn't happen in that other place. The plants that you're talking about over there are actually in a pretty wet area, and they belong in a wet area, so they don't need to be watered. Those 3 plants that you're talking about in the back, the chicken wire had to be put because of the bunnies.
Right.
Right. But those are spice bush, and I actually think they're doing pretty okay. But whatever. And we did some initial watering when the plants first went in. Now I'm back to the complex, the Fort Ruckman area, but we have not had to do a lot of watering, and that's why we propose to do a lot of the planting in the fall, when you don't have to water as much as if you plant in the spring. But we did some watering ourselves. The DPW did some watering, but it wasn't a massive amount of watering.
So 2 responses to what you said, Nancy. That's very helpful. First, I'm very relieved to hear that thinking about not leaving big bare spaces that are unsightly, that thinking could happen after you've seen the initial plan. That is exactly what I was hoping to hear. That will be an aesthetic consideration, because I know from talking with all of you and seeing your gardens and Lynn, listening to you, aesthetics are part of this as well. So I'm very pleased to hear that the aesthetics of, if we decide that might make too big a space, that was my concern, that, big unsightly area, it's been a couple of years and those unsightly areas in the thicket are just sitting there. Nothing's happened. They're not looking good. I'm glad to hear, Nancy, that you think the spice bushes are doing okay. I do think watering, because Bailey's Hill is obviously not as wet as the thicket, watering might be a concern. And again, we have to ask about costs to the town in terms of watering. So that's just, I'm putting that out there as a possibility. Of course, plant in the fall. I know I put in trees myself and that's when you do it. But thank you for that. And I would, maybe I guess for me, I would hope that it might even be written somewhere in the proposal or as an appendix or as a footnote or something, that at the point of that plan, consideration about aesthetics and how large empty spaces would, I mean, Lynn, at one point you called it a chomping machine.
I
How
did.
large, you did chomp
I,
chomp. How
I,
large the chomped area might be and how long it might sit there looking chomped. And so I would just like to underscore that I don't know if you can write it in there, but that
The chomp
consideration of the aesthetics.
So might I suggest that when we have the land management plan written, that we could convene a meeting and invite people in the town who are interested to participate and comment on it before it's executed.
That's an excellent idea.
Thought.
And that should be, that again, as a footnote, or it could come up, that could be part of the proposal. I think that's an excellent idea. For instance, in the proposal for the Flash Road recreation area, that's two public meetings are important parts of Tony's proposal. I've just written the recommendation for that. So I think that's a very important.
Yeah, there's a cycle like that in the housing article also.
So I think that's something you should add.
Yeah, and add it to the supporting statement as well.
Yes.
I would just note for anybody that's watching here, when you're seeing the screen share, you should have like a little bright green thing that says you are viewing somebody's screen, and then right next to it, it says view options with a little down arrow after it. If you hit the little down arrow, you can see that there are several people sharing their screen. So if you flip to Paul Spurn's screen, he has what I believe is the quote or the estimate from Partier. And Tony, you're sharing your screen as well. I haven't looked at yours. I don't know what you're.
Well, I was sharing the Partier quote as well. Lynn sent it to me because she was having trouble getting it uploaded.
I
So
sent
Paul,
it to
you have it up too?
I just
Yeah,
don't
mine's
see it.
up.
I don't
Mine's
see
up.
it on my screen.
I don't
No,
need,
you have to hit the little down arrow by where it says view options.
Well, let me stop. I'll stop sharing, and then I think Paul should
Well,
come up.
Lynn is still sharing as well. I think, Lynn, if you stop sharing, maybe we'll see only Paul.
I don't, I'm sorry, but I can't pull the draw down.
All right.
I could get out of this.
I don't know what to tell you.
oh, you're
What?
Submit a help ticket, will you?
I'm sorry?
Help ticket.
Paul's, what you've got on the screen, the land management plan development is very interesting.
That's what I have, right.
I would have
Lynn,
loved.
have you been able to look at it yet?
I can't look at it, but I have it on my other screen. I know what it
Okay,
is.
yeah,
I just have to give it to you.
I went to Lynn, I went to the page, starts land management, plan development. I figured that has the figures on it.
Hey, Paul, could you send us that screen that you're sharing?
Because we can't
Yeah,
see
sure.
that.
I can see it, but I would really like to be able
Yeah,
to.
sure. I will just forward the email Lynn sent me.
Okay,
Because I
great.
can't see it
That-
here. All I can see is Lynn's screen that has just it doesn't
Oh,
say
okay.
anything, no specifics, no money.
And I'm so sorry, Barbara. I don't have the youngest person in my room right now, so I don't know how to actually, I keep pulling and extending this screen and I don't see anything at the bottom anymore, the share screen or whatever. That's why I
Yeah.
feel like I should get off of this and come back in,
You know,
erase myself, in other words.
Hit,
yeah, it may, that may.
hit escape, hit escape, Lynn,
I don't have escape. I don't see escape in front of me.
on your
Hold on.
on your keyboard,
Oh,
Keyboard,
that. Oh,
top
okay.
left.
Keyboard, upper left.
Yep.
usually upper left.
I just did. Any
And
help?
that should have taken it out of a full screen view. And then if you scroll over the Zoom screen, a green bar should come up at the top that says you are sharing.
I've hit
Hit-
escape
Hit stop
firmly.
sharing.
I can't.
Okay.
I think
yeah.
really, I'm holding up this whole meeting, so I'm going to go out of the meeting and I'll come back in. That's probably the best way of me escaping.
Tony, I'm going to forward to you the email that has this as an attachment. It's ready to roll. I'm assuming that you can mail the entire FinCom. Am I right about that?
Yep, I can send it to him. You don't have to send
Okay.
it to me. Lynn already sent
Well,
it to me.
I just did. I didn't know if you had it in a form that
Okay.
you could easily forward. Anyway.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh,
I think we can see it
now,
now.
now we can see it.
Yes.
It's
Excellent.
really helpful.
I just kind of scroll. I'm sorry. I just pushed
Lynn,
many
don't
buttons.
apologize. Please, 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 don't apologize for the tech stuff. It
Okay.
works.
Anyway, this is the Parterre plan, and you can see the detail that they're offering.
So it's
And-
47,000.
This is for year one, remember.
So it's 47,350 for is that the chomping?
Well, you
Invasive
can see
plant
the
matter.
subtotals. You can see the subtotals. You see $34,775 for the forest mowing.
That's the chomping. Yeah.
That's the spring portion. Then
And
there's
then there's-
summer for another 6,000.
Yep.
More invasive plant management, and the final in the fall. But I don't know the details. And Lynn, did you want to fill them in on those details? Or maybe that's more than they want to know?
I think this is very detailed,
Okay,
Which
good.
and this was lacking, this breakdown in Trish's, which
No,
was.
Yeah,
this is the kind of information as a finance committee, we do need to know this. So it's very helpful to see it. Thank you.
You're welcome. We did get additional information. So we had the initial application from Open Space and Recreation and the town of Nahant. And then because of our dialogues, we had subsequent information coming into us. So Trish had sent the 3-year summary, and then she had also sent the Parterre proposal.
And again, I know Trish spent a long time and she had a very detailed proposal. Just this specific financial information is what we need to see. Thank you. So how much of the total is this mean? Or was that, does this add up to that 82?
Yes, if you just keep scrolling down.
Oops,
You can, I'm
yeah, so
bouncing
the
it around.
grand total there is this. So
You
And
it's
then
actually-
there's, and then there's 10% additional on top of that as a cushion. Isn't that where we get 82 from, Lynn?
we get
Maybe I'm wrong.
the 10% contingency.
Mhm.
And we also factored in a $200 sign to inform residents as to what's going on. So you take the 73,904, you add the 200, that gets us to 74,104. We add in a 10% contingency, $7,410. It gets to a subtotal of $81,514. And then because we have the benefit of the swim donation, it then drops down to $78,514.
Yep,
you
that makes
scroll up-
sense. Thank you.
Would you mind scrolling up a little bit to what you had before? On the screen? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Also, I do have one question that I would like to see added. So we're talking about adding the public meetings
Mhm.
to comment and have, feedback and thoughts. And the idea of the aesthetic, the importance of the aesthetics. And then you did bring this up, and I do think people will have some concern, and that's chemicals. Is there any way we can have a say in how much chemicals, what kind of chemicals? Because, for instance, I know Vi always lets us know when there's going to be spraying for mosquitoes. And she tells us a couple of days in advance and tells us how to call and where to, tell them we don't want to be sprayed. So I know that understanding of concern about chemicals is on your committee, is the planning committee, is something extreme sophistication. So I'm wondering how feedback control limiting and of what kind of chemicals. Obviously, we don't, I mean, we've all read, I'm not going to even say SS Rachel Carson, but
So the chemicals are listed right there that we would use. This is when they use chemicals, it's because that's the only thing they're going to do. And they're put right on the cut branch of what they've done. So it's nothing sprayed, nothing sent out to the atmosphere. And if that's, we can talk to them about what is the practice in other areas, the safe practice. But if it involves letting people know to stay away from those areas, we can make sure that that happens. But that's a dialogue with the people who are doing this and who are experts at it. But we can make sure to let the public know if that's appropriate.
I think that's important to include in your proposal.
Nancy, when do you envision, I'm sorry if I missed this, the first open public discussion?
So when we get the land management plan first drawn up, then we could have a public meeting to all discuss that we approve or disapprove or want to add or subtract. So, whenever that's first done, and that should be, the first couple of months after we begin.
And how would that plan differ from what you got right up here on the screen?
The land management plan is specifically, we're going to take away these trees in this area. We're going to put these trees back in this area. We're going to do it over this period of time. It's very specific to the area once they've looked it over. Like this is general and that's more specific.
Okay.
So what I'd like to suggest, it's true, I was guilty in our last meeting of making notes on the articles as we were talking. I don't want to do that tonight, but I would like to suggest that in the supporting statement of the Bailey's Hill Management and Development Plan or Reclamation Plan, that we add in the public presentation and discussion. So I'll
I
add a
think
sentence to that.
That's very important.
Effect.
And do you think that is it worth adding, sort of anything about aesthetics, or just to say that would come up in a public meeting, I'm sure.
Barbara, I will try to come up with something that responds to that comment.
Thank you so much. And
Yeah.
also, do you think we need to mention anything? I mean, Nancy, I was impressed by what you said about the way the chemicals will be limited. Do you think we need to mention anything about that? I mean, very important at the public meeting that people will be informed in advance so that they'll know when the actual, you know, implementation of the chemicals will happen, so they'll know they can not plan to go for a walk then.
Yeah, I'm assuming there'll be a fair amount of Q&A when there's that first public presentation, and maybe it wouldn't be till then that people could
Yeah.
get.
Yeah. But I'm sure that should be added to what would be discussed.
Hmm.
And Lynn, I know I'm going backwards right now.
Sure.
Seriously consider some language in the Goddard, not the Goddard Road, Greystone Road article about public meetings.
It's in
And
the bullet. One of the,
I thought I had put it in there, Bob, but let me just, I'll look
Okay.
at mine.
it's in there as one of the deliverables bullets, I believe.
Okay,
At least.
Yeah.
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
And maybe point them at the town website where they can find all sorts of things.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I have just a quick question on Bailey's. I think it's probably a Tony question. All of this appropriation is for third parties. None of it will be transferred to the DPW. So the DPW, I guess this is a question, is it correct that the DPW has to produce the labor hours out of their existing budget to support this mission?
Yeah, the DPW would not be paid any sort of wages out of this CPC funding for the work that they do there. It would just be part of, they'd be doing it during regular business hours.
Great. Yeah, so it's just part of their ordinary budget. My thought process is obviously the more that can be done by the DPW, we would want our own guys to enjoy the wages of this mission rather than third parties to the extent possible.
I don't think there's there really isn't any way for us to pay the DPW, anything out of these funds.
And they also are in on this whole plan and agree to all of it, and we don't do the work when they can't fit it into their normal budget, and it seems to have worked out fine.
Yeah, everything that's happened so far looks terrific and it's come out well. I was just wondering if all of this is going to third parties or any of this is going to help Zach's budget, which of course all budgets had to take a bit of a haircut, and God bless Tony for getting it done.
Yeah.
I will say, I mean, some of it, some of the success on the savings in the past were because we were able to use a lot of DPW resources to do a lot of the work. And a lot of that was the lucky benefit of a dry fall or a dry shoulder season. So, cutting the rest of the town really stopped, and we weren't getting into fall so quick. It worked out nicely. The weather worked out where the DPW could spend a lot of time on that. So it's I can't guarantee that we'll have the same success. We hope to. And certainly we're dedicated to making ourselves available. But to be honest, it was a lot of it had to do with the timing and the weather. It worked out nicely. hopefully we fall into that same scenario again.
Great, yeah, very, very reasonable go forward plan, and I'm not looking to create any kind of an accounting issue where we have to try and track dollars against tasks and hours.
I think that also speaks to, what Barbara was talking about earlier with the thicket. A lot of the work that happened in the thicket was third party. A lot of the work that happened at Bailey's Hill, was done with the DPW. And, because the thicket is now owned by the Audubon, it's not town property. So it's not maintained by DPW. Whereas these properties are. So having a crew in-house to stay on top of that daily maintenance, weekly maintenance, I think should give you some comfort, Barbara, on the experience that you reflected upon with the thicket.
I hope so. Thank you. Yeah, I was actually and remain surprised that Audubon, with its reputation for care, I'm a member, I get all of their constantly. I'm actually quite surprised at the condition that they've left it in. It's not, it doesn't look natural or naturalized. It looks, as I said, I could even use a stronger word, very unsightly. And they've left it there right in the middle of our town. And it's odd that they wouldn't have cared more. Anyway,
I think that's a discussion that we can have with Mass Audubon. We certainly have routes of communication with them, and we can discuss that with them. So,
well, yeah, and then Via started
No pun
that
intended
discussion.
there.
Via started that discussion. I was just reflecting. Tony was being so nice about reflections that it brought out more. Thank you.
Well,
Thanks,
my
Nancy.
point is that I think, with the town-owned property and having a DPW that maintains the property and is able to stay on, Audubon's not headquartered here. They're not coming here every week, So I think that's part of why we've had more success in the other parts of town, because they're town property and we have the crew in-house to stay on top of that maintenance.
And to care about it. It makes them proud too. They want it to look good.
and I think
Yeah.
that we can say that over time, as we've done more of this restoration and reclamation, that they have gotten more into it and enjoy the work. And I think that Zach is really a partner with us, and as you said, takes pride in how things are turning out.
Yeah, that's his professional background too, that type of work. So it's the type of stuff he does enjoy.
All right. God bless him. Does anyone want to make a motion?
I make a motion that we approve this.
Is there a second?
Second,
So
Thank you, Dan.
motion been made and seconded. Again, a roll call vote. So Deborah,
Aye.
Melanie,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Barbara.
This is a hard one for me. I'm wavering between aye and abstain because I would like to see that information about the public meeting.
Can I just read it to you?
Oh yeah, that would be great. That would help. Thank you.
Okay, this is after I'm just going to say this would be the third paragraph in the supporting statement. I'll start at the beginning of this paragraph. The purpose of this grant request is the development of a land management plan, parentheses, $5,689, and implementation of the land management plan recommendations for the remainder of the hill, $75,825. New sentence. The Open Space and Recreation Committee will hold community meetings to present the land management plan, reviewing the recommendations for reclamation and plantings, reaching out for public comment, sharing techniques on plantings and treatment.
Excellent. Then I can vote aye. That's the new, if you've inserted that, that'll be in the proposal.
That's
Then-
right.
Then aye. Thank you.
All right.
Welcome.
Dan?
Aye.
And I vote aye, unanimous vote in favor. Yay. I believe that brings us to the end of the CPC articles.
It does.
I think it does.
Yay.
All right.
Yeah.
So
I will
Thank
stop
you.
sharing.
thank you, Lynn, the rest of your committee, and all of the supporters you brought along with you tonight.
Yes, I'm very grateful to have Nancy and Paul join in this conversation. Thank you, folks.
And Nancy
Thank you.
particularly, Nancy, your comments were very helpful. That's what I needed, and I think for all of us to hear. So your understanding of these issues and the way you were able to respond in a very detailed, thoughtful way. And having seen your garden, I trust you completely. So thank you so much.
Thank you to the committee. We appreciate it.
Okay. Are we? Mr. Chairman, do you need anything more from us?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, thank you all. Appreciate your
Thank you.
help.
Okay, so I know some folks have sent in their drafts, which I have not had a chance to look at. Peter, you've sent some in, right?
Yes, I did. Yeah, for the most part, mine are fairly stock, if that's the right word. I have the transfers, I have the stabilization. I mean, the only thing I need for stabilization is I do need like dollar amounts. I think I need to. We gave 2,000 last year, 200,000 last year, or put in 200,000. We're putting in 200,000 this year, and I think the only thing when I copied and pasted the from last year's book was we like to list what is in the stabilization fund. So that's the only thing that's missing on that one. And then the last one is one which is the adding committee members to the sailing program is the only one that's like kind of not a is something we probably have to look at verbiage wise.
Okay. All right. What we do, just as a refresher to returning committee members and an introduction to new committee members, is we will take each of the recommendations that the various members have written and put them up on the screen and collectively read them and group edit them. And then when we're happy with it, we take a motion to approve it as edited, and off we go. Barbara, you and Allison together are going to compile the book.
That's correct.
So
And I've sent you my articles. I sent them to you like an hour ago.
okay. I have Peter's up, so let me share my screen too while I'm doing this. So what I would propose we do is let's go through the ones that we have received and do the group edit. And what we'll end up with is a Word version, Microsoft Word version, that I can email to you and Allison. Will that work for the way you need to compile things?
I think Allison is the one who knows what technology. I think, Allison, you said we could use a word. Oh,
Yeah, yeah. So if you just send me the Word doc, I'll plug it into what I have.
Okay.
and so, yeah, and I forwarded mine to you as well, Allison.
Yep,
Just
I
for-
saw it. I have it.
Great. So Bob,
Peter,
it's getting close to 9 o'clock. And for doing the kind of very careful wordsmithing that we like to do, and to give everyone time to get more of their articles to you and Allison, I'm wondering whether we should consider job well done for tonight. We're through the CPC articles and we had a very good discussion. And whether or not we should then have our next meeting be wordsmithing. Is that
Okay.
the plan?
Well, my plan was, let's go until at least 9:15, kind of call 9:15 our cutoff. So, maybe we will get a couple of these out of the way. I think Peter's will go quickly.
Okay. I'm just no
Okay.
good at editing. Once I get tired, my eyes get tired and I'm not a good wordsmither anymore.
All right, I understand. Anyway,
Rule
so
of meetings,
go ahead. What, Dan?
brain or door.
You're
You're
breaking.
cutting out, Dan.
It's the rule of meetings. The brain can't absorb what the butt can't endure.
All right. Is
Yeah.
another 20 minutes on your butts too much?
I'm fine with it. I think I like your idea, Bob. Let's get through. Like I said, mine are fairly cut and dry. They're not technical, or I don't even think we need to do much in the way of wordsmithing. It's more going to be, this is what it said last year. This is what I wrote down for this year.
Yeah,
So
let's-
just,
We can check off in 20 minutes the boilerplate-ish ones.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and
fine.
That will also help some of the newer members kind of figure out or understand what we're doing, what we're trying to do. And that may give them some context for writing their own.
Yep.
So, Peter, I believe I am sharing this whole screen.
You have the screen. Yep.
All right. So just so I know, what do you see? Do you just see this Word document, or do you
Yes.
see the
Very
pictures of
tiny.
everybody's pictures up on the right?
Yep.
I see your picture down in the bottom right-hand corner, but keep in mind, I'm on an iPad, so I'm not going to see everything you're going to see.
Okay. All right. But this is good enough then.
Yep.
All right.
Can you,
So
can you zoom in a little in the bottom right corner there, Bob?
sure.
What is,
Thank you.
I don't see any pictures.
No, that's good.
Yeah,
Oh,
That's actually that's good.
yeah.
All right.
So just real quick on transfers, as it stands right now, there are no transfers. In the previous year, I believe there was discussion that we might have a transfer. So I changed the verbiage just a little bit. No interdepartment. I added or changed no and put in no interdepartmental transfers are anticipated currently. And then the rest of it is all boilerplate pretty much.
It's accurate.
Thank you, Tony.
Well, what more do we want?
Right.
As long as it's comprehensible, which it is, I think it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll make a motion that we accept this recommendation as written,
Second.
or there's no recommendation as written, I should say.
Oh,
All right, here we go. Roll call vote. Deborah,
I.
Melanie,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Barbara,
You said me, right? It's Barbara you're speaking to.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have to come off mute. We have to hear you.
Aye, thank you.
Yay, thank you, Dan.
Aye.
Bob votes aye, unanimous vote in favor. Off we go to Article 3.
Okay, 3 is obviously prior year's bills. We had one bill. I just saying that it's recommended, one invoice. And correct me if I'm wrong, it was 450 for professional training for a town assessor. And we recommend payment.
So there's
Yeah.
gonna, oh, is that you, Allison?
Yeah, go ahead, Tony.
Oh, we came across another prior year bill today.
Now I gotta write a new thing.
We're gonna
It's
write it right now.
it's the amount of $1,380,
Okay,
and it's going to be paid out of the Memorial Day Committee's current FY24 budget. This
Cool.
was this was the invoice for the speaker system at the wharf. There was some confusion that the Legion was paying this, but we never saw a bill for it. And then when we reached out to the company to set it up for this year, they said, "Hey, this other bill never got paid."
okay.
So we got it. So I talked to Bob Fields today. We'll pay the 13. What did I just say? The amount.
It's 1380.
So we'll pay the 1380 out of this year's Memorial Day budget, and then essentially the Memorial Day Committee is going to end up running a little bit of a deficit about that amount with this year's event. And then at the end of this fiscal year, when we do our joint meeting with you guys and the Board of Selectmen, we'll find a funding source to cover that deficit.
Well, just to let you know, Tony, I'm gonna be putting out something where I'm gonna try and collect some money for this, so I'm looking to try and pay it for this year. So the 2024, I don't think the Legion should be paying for this, so hopefully I'll get enough maybe to cover both years. But I'm working on that.
All right, yeah, and then
The
and as we talked about the budget, the budget for fiscal year 25 has been increased, so they won't have to pay for it in the future.
Exactly. Yep.
All right, help me finish my sentence. The second is $1,380 for the speaker system at the town wharf, which will be paid from
The Memorial Day Committee. Do you want to just say budget, Allison, or do you want to say professional services or purchase services?
You can just say budget.
All right.
and I think we have to spell out advisory and finance committee because now we've got this other committee in here and I don't want to confuse.
Yep.
Is that okay? Is that
I'm
accurate?
good with. Yes. I'm good with it.
All right. Is there a motion?
I just don't know. So since you're saying the second one's being paid from Memorial Day budget, the first one is being paid from the town assessor's budget. I don't know if you want to emphasize that, but.
And do you want to, in the first sentence, do you want to explain, do you want to say anything like, it,
As a
paying,
requirement.
yeah, just
Uh,
bills paid for services in a previous fiscal year require a town meeting vote or something like that? A
Yeah, we
separate-
could, yeah, I'm almost thinking that's something that, when I get up and read it, I could say that. This is
Yeah.
a procedural, procedural article, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or just approved by town meeting would be enough.
Yeah, that's fine.
Looks good.
Okay. The motion, please.
Make a motion to approve as written.
Second.
I think everybody's on mute.
I'm
Any
not,
second?
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call vote, Deborah,
Aye.
Melanie,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Barbara,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
and I vote aye, unanimous vote in favor. Okay, so
Bob,
stabilization.
you're gonna have to start doing like the moderator does and just say who seconded it. Just pick your person.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Somebody
that's a
that has,
classic.
I know. I'm sitting there with my back to the man and he's,
Yes. Shh, no secrets. Don't let the secrets out.
yeah.
So in this one here, that last line, Tony just sent me the number. So instead of the X's, you can put down 1,070,000. Yeah, 70,736.
And that's actually gonna be if the 200,000 is approved.
Yeah.
So
It-
the current balance is 200,000 less than that. This sentence says the current balance of the stabilization fund before FY 2025 appropriation is, so 200. It's gonna be, oh, Allison.
So it's gonna be a little bit higher than that. That number that you had, Tony, was, we only had, interest through January, so it's gained a little bit more interest. I would just say it'll be just over 1,070,000, like do an even number. I'm not sure how much interest it'll earn a couple $100 more through the end of the year.
So yeah, you could say the current balance of the stabilization fund before FY 25 appropriation is about $870,000.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
And with this appropriation, it will be about $1,070,000.
Tony, you've done such a great job building this thing up.
Yeah.
We
Unbelievable.
have.
Yeah.
No.
So do you think, I mean, and I shouldn't ask this late in the evening, but where do you think this appropriation, where do you think we go with this now that we're over $1 million in stabilization?
I mean, I think our goal should be 10%. The DOR,
Yeah.
said 5% was the minimum. I think 10's healthy.
Yeah.
So, I think we should keep pushing and try to get to 1.5.
Okay. I'm fine with that. And again, this was boilerplate.
What percentage, Tony?
10%. That looks good.
All right. Wordsmithers, is ongoing hyphenated?
No,
Well, it was a chorus of no's. Okay.
I like the enthusiastically supports the ongoing funding.
very nice, yes. Particularly at this time of the evening, enthusiasm is
Yes,
commended.
Speaking of this time of the evening, guys,
yeah. So if we got a motion for this one, we could, because the next one probably is going to need a lot of wordsmithing.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve.
Oh, can I just add one comment?
Sure.
Social science folks have to say this kind of thing. The town's goal is to maintain approximately 10%. That makes it so, you understand why.
Mhm.
Thank you.
And for all you Robert's Rules aficionados, that was a friendly amendment to the motion, I assume.
Yes.
Yes, and I accept the, yeah.
Thank
we
you.
gotta,
Approximately friendly. Yes, definitely.
All right. I didn't hear a second.
I second it.
Okay. Deborah,
Aye.
Melanie,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Barbara,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
and Bob votes aye, unanimous vote in favor. So Peter, I think you're right. This next one will probably need a little TLC.
Yep.
So let's stop here. And open the floor for public forum. Okay, I don't know who iPad 2 is, but whoever iPad 2 is has raised their hand.
Sorry about that. That's me. I'm Peter Galaki from 20 Summons Road in Little Nahant. About the Fort Ruckman and Bailey's Hill area, I'm wondering if this plan includes the restoration of the gun turrets that were plowed over and filled in a number of years ago. After reading Gerald Butler's books about World War One, World War Two, I think they're historically significant and they shouldn't have been plowed over and all that invasive growth on top of them. So I'm wondering if that includes scooping those out again so that they're available for people to visit.
Yeah,
No,
and
that could
Tony,
be brought up at the public meeting. That would be a time when that could be brought up.
Tony may know, and in a second we'll ask him. If it is not an ideal mechanism for getting that started would be to submit a grant request to the CPC for that work.
Mm,
Okay.
Yeah, good
Yeah, good
point.
idea.
I'd be enthusiastic
Pe-
about it.
Yeah,
Sure, I think that's
not only
spot
do
on.
I remember that it was a significant spot to be able to go up to, but I also remember during hurricanes and storms going up and standing underneath the protection of it so you could watch the ocean and all. It seemed like a great spot in Nahant. And then at some point, I don't know, 30 years ago, they decided to plow up all the dirt on top of it and let things grow. It seems like a great loss to the town.
And to the history of the town. Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay,
Tony,
so
do
No,
you know
how
if the current plan includes this?
It does not.
and how would we go about putting in a proposal? In brief.
So I'd say, I would say through the public meetings, bring it up as a topic. That'll be a good way to get it on record and possibly get public support. And then you can use that in an application to the CPC next year. So in the fall, they'll start the application process again. And it could potentially, if it's a good project, if they push it forward, it would be presented to next year's town meeting.
Okay, and I would do that through the town hall.
Right through the Community Preservation Committee they will announce publicly when their applications go live, and you can apply right on through the website. Their
Okay,
application
wonderful.
is all through nahant.org.
Yeah, and they can
Okay,
help.
thank you very much.
Yeah, they can and will help you through that process.
Yeah, and just stay in touch with Lynn. She's extremely helpful. So you could just email her and she'll know and she'll have you in her file.
Okay, thank you very much.
Excuse me, iPad 2. For the minutes, could you tell me your name again?
Peter Galaki, 20 Simmons Road.
Could you spell your last name, please?
I can spell it, yes. I get that all the time.
Oh,
G-A-W,
rim shot.
G-A-W-L-O-C-K-I.
That's a G-A?
G-A-W-L-O-C-K-I.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, well, seeing no one else, our next meeting will be Tuesday, back to the regular time of 6:30 p.m. And that's that. So I think a motion to adjourn is in order, and also a big thank you to everyone.
Bob, do you have Thursday booked as well?
Not yet, but we will. Why?
I just wanted to make sure that it gets, but I'm seeing how much is left. Wednesday night, the selectmen have their meeting's gonna be in person at the town hall, so if you needed, I wouldn't be able to attend your meeting, but if you needed that Zoom, it would be available to you. If you needed to do another meeting Wednesday night too.
Okay.
Um,
Maybe, actually, let's kick this around for a second.
you can always cancel them. It
Yeah, I
might be
was
worth
gonna say,
looking them and then cancel them if you don't need them.
yeah, that's exactly where I was going. Who is available on Wednesday night, or who is not available on Wednesday night, should it come to that?
I should be available Wednesday.
I'm available Wednesday.
As far as I know, I am.
Melanie, do you know?
That's the 17th.
That is, I don't know. Good question.
Yes.
Yes, 17th.
I can move something around and be available.
Okay, so I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna post a meeting for Wednesday. Hopefully and ideally, we will not have to do a Wednesday night meeting. And we can just cancel it, but at least let's get it posted so we can have it if we need it. All right, then,
And Tuesday night, the planning board has their meeting and they will be voting on their recommendation. They sent me a draft of it. They'll be voting on their recommendation on the floodplain article, so you'll get that Tuesday night or Wednesday morning. Their draft is to recommend it, and they had 2 small changes.
okay, and they are meeting Tuesday?
They're meeting Tuesday.
So Tony, my recommendation that I wrote for the FinCom was premature. Basically, I took what you told me. That we're talking about Article 24.
Yeah, the talking points I sent you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, those talking points explain what the article does. You guys will have your own recommendation. Because it's a zoning article, the planning board's required to provide a recommendation, post a public hearing, to town meeting, and I think they'd like to have theirs included in your book. So you guys will get that. And then on Wednesday night, the Board of Selectmen will vote on the final warrant. And that'll be their last, if you guys, the other thing is Tuesday. So the assessor's budget and the library budget, if you guys are going to make changes that you want the Board of Selectmen to be in line with you, they need to vote on that Wednesday night. That'll be their last meeting before, your stuff goes to print on Friday. So
Yeah,
Tuesday night,
I'm-
you gotta figure that out too.
I'm not aware of any changes to the omnibus that we haven't discussed already.
Well, the library one is still outstanding.
Didn't you say that you had approved the salary increases? So do we need to do something about that?
We need to vote it when we see an omnibus budget in which that's included.
And then the other question
Well-
is that they were going to find a way, and they're going to find a way to add some to the materials. And so that they're going to do that themselves from something they already have. Does that need to be voted, or can they just handle that as themselves, their trustees?
They would just, if they're spending money out of their state aid funds that are not voted on through the general fund and not voted on at town meeting, it doesn't need to be included.
That's it.
But
Thank you.
we hadn't, I don't think Allison and I met with you, Bob, and then since then, we haven't heard anything back from you on a new number.
They're going to do what you said. They're going to take what, and their trustees will decide how much from the state aid. That's where that will come from. But you had said you had approved of those salary increases, and they thought that sounded excellent. They were very happy, and they said thank you, and they were very appreciative of your support. Very.
But that's not the vote that your committee took. Your committee took a vote to approve the increase to the salaries, and there was an increase to the operating budget at the time that went after Nori presented. So that's why I'm confused as to what the number is, I guess.
The number is the 4% increase to the 2 employees,
Okay,
and that's it, period.
That's it. Yeah.
okay. That wasn't clear because that wasn't the vote that you took.
You
Thank you
might,
for
yeah,
reminding
you
us.
might want to retake that vote, and you could do it Tuesday if you want.
Yeah, well, we have to vote the entire omnibus, so when we vote the omnibus, that would be included in that.
But
Right.
not the piece about the materials that we need to revote, right? Is what you're saying? That they'll be doing that themselves.
Yeah, but
You-
we don't need to vote on that. They're doing that themselves. We need to
Right.
vote on the omnibus
Yes.
or, the changes.
Right.
Right, but what I'm
Originally,
saying, I made
originally
changes to the
that-
omnibus based on your last vote. So right now, in all the materials that I've provided to you, there was a change to the operating budget where now you're saying that that change is no longer needed because they're using
Right,
other
exactly.
sources of funding. So
Yep,
right.
I'll have to make that change now.
You can
Thank
put
you.
it back to the way it was.
Okay.
Sorry.
And then, the assessors is still an open item.
Yeah, and so that really needs to be,
And as
I
time
mean,
goes by, it becomes increasingly less likely.
yeah, well, and it only has to be done Tuesday if we want the Board of Selectmen budget and the FinCom budget to be in sync. I mean, you guys can have a different budget and vote
Yes.
on it later in the week. It just won't be identical to what the Board of Selectmen sent you.
Right, we could.
And Tony, one more little tiny, I know it's late, but you would have loved the eclipse party on the library lawn. Talk about a community event. We had moon pies and they gave us
I
the little
saw, I
glasses.
saw, I
And there
saw,
were little kids running around everywhere. I mean, and
I
everybody,
saw.
it was great.
It
And
looked great.
it was really happy campers. Well,
Yeah, it's
whatever you want to
great.
call us, happy eclipsers. Thank you,
The eclipsers.
eclipse chasers.
Okay,
All right, so yeah, so you'll have the planning board recommendation after they vote on it Tuesday. The Board of Selectmen will finalize the warrant and the budget Wednesday. You'll have that Thursday morning, but you guys know what those numbers are. The only thing on the warrant is we are formalizing the inclusion of the CPC articles.
Okay.
okay.
Hey, real quick, I know last night or the other night, we talked about who was going to be recommending or writing the recommendations. And I know I had at least one of them, but I can't remember which one. And I
I forgot too, because
Weren't you talking about the CPC ones, Peter?
yes, yeah,
yeah, I should have been recording these as we went along and I didn't. So right now these are all blank. And that's a good call. So who was
I've
doing?
written, okay, I did Flash Road Master Plan and I've already written that and I sent that to you. And
Yep.
I also did the Heritage Trail and I wrote that and I sent that to you.
Okay,
And I've completed the beach access. I think I
oh,
sent
I
it.
had the Boulder Scramble. That's what I had.
So Bob, I had Little League field lighting and you have that one also.
which one?
That one, Little League field lighting.
We were going to do this together?
No, you have it in your email.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, got it.
She sent it to you.
Yes, I got it.
And Tim is doing that one. If he's up for it, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm going to take it. I don't want to give Tim anything more than he's got
Yeah,
now.
thank you. Yeah, he shouldn't be doing that now.
And who did we end up with on Bailey's Hill?
We didn't.
Not because we were waiting.
Right.
Does anyone want to volunteer for it? Dan, sir,
Yes, I'll take it.
you can be, someone used the word trenchant the other night. It's a good word.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you,
And
Dan.
these two are just boilerplate. Okay, there we go.
Perfect.
All right. So now, finally, 10 minutes after we started this. I think a motion to adjourn is in order.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
Okay, made and seconded. Deborah,
Aye.
Melanie,
Hi.
Peter,
Aye.
Barbara,
I.
Dan,
Aye.
and I vote aye. So unanimous vote in favor. We are adjourned, and I will see you all. Do you want to say something, Deborah?
No, I said yay.
Oh, you were
Oh.
you were cheering. Okay, got it.
Yeah. Bob,
Yay!
your Tuesday meeting is posted already?
No, it will. I'm gonna get it to her first thing tomorrow morning.
Yeah, because Monday's a holiday. So yeah, make sure it gets done tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you all. Have a good
Great.
night.
Good night.